We go now to Washington State, where ICT has launched a 5-year project looking at the impact of climate change in tribal communities. ICT's Mark Trahant is here with us with the report from the Quinault Nation. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Aaliyah. It's really curious because you're covering a slow-moving story, one that unfolds over time. And the pace of climate change is something that's just different. And one way we want to illustrate that is to do it over time. And as part of that, on this journey, we're exploring the shifts affecting the Quinault Nation. I'm here in Taholah on the Quinault Indian Nation. Today the sea is calm, but the sea is also relentless. It keeps rising. The community of Taholah faces floods every year, and in 2021, people were evacuated. Plus there are king tides, the highest tide of the year, that pushes water back several streets. So more than 20 years ago, this community began talking about relocation.
So the water was coming in from the river and just coming directly into the village. And it was just kind of coming in through the driveway and then coming in through the rocks. It probably filled up both of these streets here within 2.5, 3.5 hours maybe. And then where we were standing now, we probably got up to, a little over 12 inches.
What makes the Quinault story so powerful is that it's a window into our future. The idea that, like it or not, a changing climate will determine how we live, where we will live, what we will eat, and how much it's going to cost. Quinault is extraordinary in so many ways. The geography ranges from glaciers to ocean. On the coast here, climate changes now. Every year, there are threats from storm surges and king tides. And on the Quinault Nation, that has meant a thoughtful, long-term approach to a solution that preserves community and the tribe's values.
Tribes have really been at the leading edge of people in this country feeling the impacts of climate change. And of course, tribes have been warning about this for a long time.
Indigenous values and teachings are finally getting centered and put in that limelight because that paradigm shift the rest of society has to do. Indigenous and Native people are already doing that.
And we know this, the floods from storm surges will increase over time.
There you go.
This is the beginning.
I think high tide's here in about 2 more hours. So you can see the ocean here kind of starting to wave up. But as you look down, you can actually see there's a ton of driftwood sitting up here, and it just keeps.
So for several years now, the Quinault Indian Nation has been in the process of planning a move of the village of Taholah from the mouth of the Quinault River to higher ground. This process started more than 20 years ago, showing the firsthand complexity of how climate change impacts one community.
We're at this place in time where the world is on a trajectory that can't go any further. It's not sustainable. And so we're starting to witness everything collapse around us. We're seeing ecosystems collapse. We're seeing political systems collapse. And as everything around us collapses, those things that we stand on to be true, to be timeless, we are rising.
So we were trying to come up with a strategy to where we could get elders to be the very first part of the relocation, and rightfully it should be the ones that are most affected. So we recently just did win an award.
There are immediate concerns. The next flood is only a storm away, and the homes that survive the last ones are sometimes infected with black mold and other health concerns. The new village is about a half-mile away on higher ground. The Quinault Nation has built most of the infrastructure, streets, housing plats, sewage.
So what you can see here is the development of our first phase. But as far as building the houses, that's still a whole nother phase to go. So I know we were talking about.
And reflecting the nation's priorities, the Generations House, the first building, is a center for elders and children.
This was our most modern effort to relocate our most vital citizens.
There are still many questions to be answered. What happens to an elder who has worked their whole life and paid off their mortgage, but because they live in a flood zone, they have to start all over again? How does that work? And who pays for all of this? The Quinault Nation has not figured out yet where more than $450 million will come from.
We recently just did win an award for, I think, $1.9 million from HUD, and that was to construct 6 senior units. So that's going to be our first go.
And here's the thing, the Quinault Nation is further along in this sort of planning than nearly every community on the planet. When we drove up the coast to get here, we passed through low elevation towns and even cities and saw the scale of the problem. And it's clear that neither the region nor the country are penciling out what has to be done and what that will cost.
Mark, relocation is a word with history. Tell us what it means here.
Aaliyah, think about our ancestors and what they went through with forced relocation, and whether it was marches or other traumatic events. It was based on land and policy. This time it's different. Climate change is forcing us all to think about relocation. And I should mention here that we plan on doing this story for the long haul, showing it how it unfolds over time rather than just one time and be gone.
Mark, we're really looking forward to that coverage. Thank you so much for being here today. You can see part 2 of Mark's eye-opening journey through the Quinault Nation tomorrow as he uncovers the heavy price tag that comes with tackling climate change head on.